You are listening to a story on Lotus Tale Studios. I hope you enjoy every moment. Please take a moment to subscribe to my channel, and if you enjoy the story, don't forget to like and drop a comment. I died on the day my daughter was born. On New Year's Eve, I gave birth to my first child with Kai Chen, a beautiful, delicate baby girl. The moment she emerged, her eyes fluttered open and she beamed the sweetest smile at me. When the midwife saw she wasn't crying, she gave her bottom a sharp flick. Only then did the little one purse her lips in protest, letting out a tiny, delicate wail. Not loud at all, like a little fox cub. My heart melted into a puddle as I gazed at my precious baby again and again. Only when the midwife reminded me did I remember to call Kai Chen to see the child. According to custom, men were not allowed in the delivery room. But with the blizzard raging outside, how could I bear to have them carry the baby out just so her father could catch a glimpse? Kai Chen entered, his footsteps heavy on the wooden floor. I smiled and asked, "Have you thought of a name for our daughter?" Kai took the baby from my arms and suddenly flashed a smile that sent a chill down my spine. "A child born to die," he said coldly. "What's the point of naming her?" He slammed the infant hard onto the floor. Raised with strict etiquette, I'd always been gentle and composed. Never did I imagine I'd one day let out such a sharp, desperate howl like a wild beast. I threw myself toward where my daughter was falling. Too late. The child hit the ground. Blood seeped through the swaddling cloth. I knew this newborn would never smile at me again, nor call me mother in years to come. My mind went blank, a deafening roar filling my ears. Kai's mouth opened and closed several times before I realized he was speaking. He said, "Lin Yue, it was Mai who saved me back then. Yet you poisoned her to claim her credit. I swore at Mai's memorial that I would avenge her, but you were so skilled at winning my favor, I couldn't bring myself to kill you. Well, let this girl pay for your crimes instead. Remember to kneel before Mai's memorial and beg forgiveness. All this is the karma you've sown. Mai. Chen Mei." My heart froze completely. Chen Mei was my younger sister, the capital's renowned lucky darling. From childhood onward, she effortlessly snatched everything from me. It wasn't until her accidental death 4 years ago that I finally escaped her shadow. But I never imagined Kai Chen would blame my sister's death on me, lying in wait all these years to exact his revenge. I thought he was different from others. That he would always choose me unwaveringly. I cradled my daughter's lifeless body. She was so young, barely arrived in this world. Before she could even glimpse the sky, she died at her own father's hands. Kai frowned, reaching to snatch the child away. He declared magnanimously, "We'll have other children." "No," I whispered. "There will be no other children." Orphaned young, I had to shoulder the family's burdens as the eldest sister, caring for my younger sister. My life was exhausting. That's why I always wanted a daughter. I would cherish her, protect her, and let her grow up happily, just as I wished I could have cherished my younger self. Kai knew this was my lifelong wish. So he chose to take his revenge the moment our daughter was born. But I owed Chen Mei no guilt, nor could I ever forgive the murderer who took my precious child. "Kai Chen," I called softly. "Come here." Without hesitation, I twisted the golden bracelet on my wrist. This was given to me by an old friend on his deathbed. He said, "Miss Lin, should you ever face mortal danger, use this to protect yourself." I aimed the needle's slot on the bracelet at Kai Chen. "Die. Go to the underworld and apologize to my daughter." The silver needle, laced with deadly poison, pierced Kai's neck with pinpoint accuracy. His eyes widened in shock as he stared at me. I sneered coldly. "Kai Chen, I should never have saved you back then. You were never worthy of being my daughter's father." Screams from the servants and cries for the imperial physician echoed in succession. Unmoved, I watched Kai draw his last breath before picking up my daughter and walking toward the nearby courtyard. No one dared approach us. This was the small courtyard I'd built for my daughter. I'd strung a little swing for her, planted a garden full of colorful flowers, and even prepared a tiny kite for when she grew old enough to fly it. A wife killing her husband is a capital offense. I knew what awaited me. I lay down with the child, placing her on my abdomen. My postpartum belly hadn't yet returned to its former shape, still bearing the curve where my daughter once resided. She lay on my stomach as if we were still together, still one. I aimed the golden bracelet at myself. Before consciousness faded, the spilled lamp oil ignited, engulfing us both in flames. But when I opened my eyes again, Kai Chen was there. Heavy snow blanketed the mountain path. I drove the carriage while Kai lay beside the road covered in blood. I had been reborn to the moment I first met Kai Chen. In my past life, seeing someone injured, I had leaped from the carriage without hesitation to save him. But as a frail woman, despite my desperate efforts, I not only failed to pull Kai onto the carriage but instead encountered a mountain collapse with him. Falling rocks and deep snow blocked the mountain path. I had no choice but to find a cave and drag Kai inside. We hid in that cave for over half a month. Fortunately, the carriage was filled with supplies I had gathered, so we didn't starve to death. But this time, I watched as Kai lifted his eyes to look at me, reaching out his hand, pleading for help. His eyes were clearly open. Why did he act as if blind, unable to recognize his savior? So I too pretended to be blind, driving the carriage past him. The wheels clattered, probably crushing some part of his body. A scream of pain echoed behind me. How pitiful, to encounter a blind driver. Not long after I left, I heard the avalanche roar behind me, just as I'd hoped. He's dead for sure now, I thought. Humming a tune, I drove the cart into a small village ahead. Our journey had been to my maternal grandmother's home in Qingju to escape the winter. Unexpectedly, we encountered bandits along the way. My attendants fought desperately to protect their master, and only my sister and I escaped unharmed. I'd left my sister, Chen Mei for short, in the care of a villager's family while I drove the carriage out to deliver a distress letter and stock up on provisions and clothing in a nearby town. At that time, Chen Mei was still safe and sound under my protection. Seeing me return alone, the smile on Chen Mei's face froze abruptly. Before I could speak, she jumped into the carriage and scanned the surroundings. "Sister," she said, her voice trembling slightly, "why did you come back alone?" I replied calmly, "Who else should I have come back with?" Chen Mei's eyes flickered. "The villagers said someone was injured along the way. I thought, knowing your kind heart, you'd surely bring them back." She tugged at my arm, pleading, "Sister, go save them." I shook off her hand. "If you want to go, you go. And don't you dare bring anyone back." Chen Mei's face flushed crimson. "Sister, you know I'm delicate and weak. How can you ask me to go out in this freezing weather to rescue some stranger? How dangerous." Sure enough, Chen Mei knew the person needing help was Kai Chen. Suddenly, I heard a strange voice, one that seemed to come from inside Chen Mei's mind, yet I could hear it clearly. "Lucky Lotus System alert. The Kai Chen opportunity task is about to fail. Please complete the task promptly." The voice originated from Chen Mei. They seemed confident no one could overhear their conversation, starting to talk right in front of me. Chen Mei said impatiently, "If Lin Yue doesn't save him, how can I seize the opportunity? With such a fierce snowstorm outside, how could I possibly go out alone?" The system replied in an eerie, bewitching quality, "I am the Lucky Lotus System. Naturally, you, the host, need not exert any effort. Dear host, you may, as always, choose to purchase a good fortune opportunity. Naturally, the price will be slightly higher." Chen Mei agreed immediately. "Yes, do it." A sudden, ominous foreboding gripped me. Sure enough, by evening, the village hunter returned from outside carrying an injured man on his back. With scarce medical supplies in the village, the hunter supported the man as he knocked on our small courtyard door. He was a simple fellow, his face flushed crimson with embarrassment as he asked, "Honored guests, might you have any spare medicine to spare for this young man?" Before I could answer, Chen Mei piped up in a sweet voice, we do." She had changed into fresh clothes and applied makeup at some point. The white fox fur coat framed her delicate face, making her resemble a divine maiden descended from heaven. Hearing her voice, Kai Chen, who had been leaning against the hunter, struggled to lift his head. His gaze fixed directly on Chen Mei, showing no avoidance whatsoever. Under his stare, Chen Mei's cheeks flushed crimson. She turned her head coyly, her voice sweet as honey. "Sister, let's save him. He's so pitiful." Only then did Kai look at me. The joy in his eyes had vanished, replaced solely by disgust. My heart skipped a beat. Could it be? Kai spoke weakly. I am the second son of the Duke of Chen. If the two young ladies would deign to rescue me, I shall repay your kindness 1,000-fold. He chuckled darkly. And this young lady bears a striking resemblance to the thief who crushed my hand with her carriage wheel. I wonder if the young lady has ventured out in her carriage today? Chen Mei's smile broadened at this. She scolded gently, Sister, now we absolutely must tend to young Master Chen. I stared coldly at Kai Chen. Next time I kill someone, I must watch them draw their last breath. But to think you could restrain me with mere words. You underestimate me. My expression remained composed. I did indeed go out today, but I never saw you, young master. How skillful your tongue is, a few words and you slander someone's reputation out of thin air. My humble temple can't accommodate such a grand Buddha. I paused, then added coldly, who saw me bump into you? Who can testify? I shot Chen Mei a cold stare. And you, after our parents passed, I raised you with my own hands. Now some outsider drops a few words and you eagerly take the blame for me. Are you a fool, or do you have ulterior motives? Chen Mei had never been berated so harshly by me before. Tears welled in her eyes as she murmured, Sister. But my stern gaze silenced her. In the end, Kai pushed himself up and stepped protectively in front of her. I won't disturb you two ladies, Kai said stiffly. I only need to borrow some medicine. I'll repay you, I swear. I refused coldly, no. Ignoring me, Kai turned to Chen Mei. Please fetch them, miss. I'll repay you properly, I swear. As if granted a pardon, Chen Mei practically ran to retrieve the medicine chest. But as she rummaged through it, her movements halted awkwardly. All these years, whenever Chen Mei fell ill or was injured, I personally tended to her without rest. She'd simply reap the benefits, never lifting a finger. How could she possibly know anything about medicine? Chen Mei looked to me for help, her eyes pleading. Sister, please tell me what medicine to use. Kai stiffened at her words, staring at her in disbelief. How could you not know medicine? A secret smile touched my lips. You've been exposed, Kai Chen. I wasn't the only one who had come back to life. The moment Kai first looked at Chen Mei, suspicion took root in my heart. The way he gazed at her, gentle and nostalgic, didn't belong to someone seeing a stranger for the first time. When Kai exposed my role in his injury, I seized the opportunity. First, I forced him to borrow the medicine and leave. Then, I compelled him to seek Chen Mei's help in obtaining it. In my past life, when Kai and I were trapped in that cave, I healed him with the only medicine left in the carriage. Even if Kai mistook me for someone else, he wouldn't forget that the person who saved him was skilled in medicine. Sure enough, the fox showed its tail. After Kai left, Chen Mei visited him every day. Days earlier, she boasted to me about Kai's gentle kindness and refined manners. Yet with each passing day, her expression grew increasingly icy. She began probing whether I had known Kai long before this. She claimed Kai constantly mentioned me, especially the incident when I drove the carriage out. He pulled me aside, questioning me repeatedly about you, Chen Mei said, her voice tight with suspicion. I denied it, saying only that Kai still suspected I was the one who broke his arm. Chen Mei perked up again, pouting her lips like a spoiled child. Big sister, you already have a fiancé, but my marriage hasn't been arranged yet. I truly like young Master Chen. Don't compete with me for him, okay? As she spoke, she nestled affectionately into my embrace like a little girl seeking comfort from her elder sister. Yet I clearly heard her mind urgently urging the system, next time there's a chance to exchange for good fortune, remember to remind me. Kai Chen, I must have him. The system responded, the cost of exchanging for good fortune will still be paid by your sister. You just get to enjoy it, right? Perfect, Chen Mei thought. I suddenly lifted my eyes to stare at Chen Mei. She flinched, but clearly thinking I hadn't overheard her conversation with the system, she blinked at me innocently, pure and natural, without a trace of guilt. My heart grew utterly cold. I admit that having things I cared about snatched away repeatedly wasn't without its resentment, but it wasn't enough to make me turn against my sister. Besides, Kai Chen was the root cause of my past life's tragedy. Chen Mei was merely a catalyst at most. In this new life, I only wanted to deal with Kai Chen. For a man, having sisters turn against each other, estranged for life, parted by death, how utterly pointless. Yet only now did I realize that perhaps even earlier, when Chen Mei bound the system and began using me as the price for her good fortune, I ceased to be her sister. I was her blood bank, her stepping stone, her rival. So I tugged at the corner of my mouth and said to Chen Mei, I'll never compete with you for Kai Chen. Go ahead, go seduce him, walk toward your predestined doom. I won't yield to you, but I also won't protect you anymore. Chen Mei's eyes lit up with triumph, completely missing the warning in my words. Within days, the village was flooded with carriages and horses. My maternal grandmother had received my plea for help and sent people to fetch us. Leading the group was my cousin, Su Jing. The moment he arrived, he surveyed Chen Mei and me carefully. Are both of you well? He asked. That well meant two things. First, were we safe? Second, had two young women wandering alone tarnished their reputations? I nodded at him. Rest assured, cousin. Su Jing inquired further about our recent circumstances. Conversations among aristocratic youths were verbose and circumspect. Having managed household affairs for years, I was adept at such diplomatic speech. But Chen Mei, ever preoccupied with leisure and pleasure, couldn't grasp the subtle undertones in our words. She glanced around impatiently. Enough of this meaningless small talk, she interrupted. I invited Brother Kai to join us in Jiang Nan. Why hasn't he come yet? Su Jing frowned. The word brother was too painful for him to utter when referring to a stranger. I chimed in thoughtfully, Kai Chen, the second son of the Duke of Chen. He'd been stationed in a remote frontier town until recently. Now, for some unknown reason, he suddenly returned toward the capital and suffered serious injuries. I emphasized the phrases unknown reason and serious injuries. Su Jing instantly understood my meaning. As the eldest legitimate son of the Su family, he was set to take the imperial examinations next year. The political climate in the capital was crucial to his future. Su Jing was about to probe for more details when Chen Mei eagerly interjected. I begged sister to save him. Brother Kai is deeply grateful to me. She rattled off a string of details about her interactions with Kai Chen, her words brimming with girlish bashfulness and pride, as if discussing the winds of change sweeping through the capital amidst the sweetness of young love. Su Jing tried several times to steer the conversation toward whether the return of the Duke of Chen's second son to the capital had any connection to the succession struggle. Chen Mei always cut in. Brother Kai is coming back to marry me. The wedding is near. Su Jing's brow furrowed repeatedly until he finally couldn't bear it. Sister Mei, go play elsewhere. I need to discuss other matters with your sister. Feeling slighted, Chen Mei shot me a resentful glance before stomping off. I pressed my lips together, suppressing a smirk. In my previous life, at this very moment, Kai Chen and I were still trapped in that cave. I'd had no chance to exchange information with this cousin, leaving me woefully ignorant of the situation in the capital. That ignorance cost me dearly. This time, every step would be under my control. I had a serious conversation with Su Jing for quite some time. This stern cousin softened his expression, a flash of understanding crossing his eyes. Sister, he said quietly, I didn't come alone this time. There's another young master who wishes to pay his respects to you. If he hadn't found another mountain path, we wouldn't have arrived so quickly. My hand trembled, my feelings complex. I knew who the visitor was, my betrothed, Yu Lin. In my past life, Kai Chen vanished suddenly in that cave when the rocks shifted again. The mountain path remained collapsed, trapping me with no escape. After an unknown duration of despair, Yu Lin found me and carried me up the sheer cliff on his back. He carried me to the shore of life. Back then, I felt no romantic attachment to Kai Chen. I saved him, yet he dragged me into danger. Not blaming him for my misfortune was already generous of me. There was no way I'd ruin the marriage arranged by our elders for his sake. Yu Lin and I completed all the traditional betrothal rites. Only the final wedding procession remained before we could become husband and wife. But on the eve of the wedding, Chen Mei died in our bridal chamber. The only person with Chen Mei was Yu Lin. He offered no defense, silently admitting his guilt. The joyous occasion turned to mourning, severing ties between our families. Our marriage dissolved into nothingness. Afterward, Yu Lin confined himself to the ancestral temple while I departed for the capital. When news of his death reached me, I was already an enemy with no standing to mourn and the wife of another man. Yu Lin wore a bamboo-patterned brocade robe as he bowed to me and Su Jing. Su Jing let out a surprised sound. While I was exchanging a few words with my sister, young Master Yu has even changed his attire. Yu Lin flushed instantly. I journeyed in haste and feared my clothes might be untidy. My apologies for the abruptness, Miss Lin. He was exceedingly courteous, his gaze fixed vaguely on the ground, never meeting mine directly. Su Jing deliberately encouraged us, the betrothed couple, to get to know each other better, asking me to take Yu Lin sightseeing. In this remote, barren land, not even the plum blossoms had bloomed yet. Fortunately, no matter what I said, Yu Lin responded with ease and naturalness. If not for his jade-white hand clutching my sleeve so tightly his knuckles turned pink, I might have believed he truly wasn't nervous. When villagers passing by openly acknowledged him as my fiancé, Yu Lin's grip tightened even more. I stifled a laugh. Young Master Yu, you'll tear it if you squeeze any harder. Only then did he abruptly release his hold. Good. Now even his ears were crimson. He avoided my gaze, murmuring after a long moment, Miss Lin, let's return. I almost laughed out loud. He acts more like a sheltered young lady than I do. But as we turned to head back, we collided with Kai Chen. Kai, recently recovered from illness, looked pale, yet his eyes burned red as he stared at me. He fixed his gaze on my hand holding Yu Lin's sleeve. Lin Yue, he said hoarsely, all these days, why haven't you come to see me? Yu Lin's retreating steps halted. His masculine instincts made him instantly withdraw the tenderness he'd shown me, his gaze turning sharp toward Kai. But he didn't confront him directly. Instead, he gently tugged at the sleeve I was holding. The sleeve swayed back and forth, silently questioning me. I retorted, Mr. Chen, we're not quite that familiar, are we? Not long ago, weren't you accusing me of being the thief who injured you? Kai Chen stared at me unwaveringly, his eyes brimming with such deep affection it seemed they could spill over. I knew it was you that day, he said. Your carriage had a small bell hanging beside it. Its material differed from ordinary bells, and its sound was uniquely distinct. I recognized it, you once gave it to me. Only I was foolish. I mistook you for someone else. When I had tested Kai with the medicine earlier, I had planted seeds of doubt in his heart. These past days, I'd let Chen Mei seek him out, giving him the chance to uncover the truth. People are inherently different, and Chen Mei and I are worlds apart in character. Kai Chen had gradually realized he'd mistakenly honored the wrong benefactor. For the wrong person, he abandoned his wife, killed his daughter, destroyed his family, and ultimately ruined his own life. What he believed was deep-seated love and vengeance was in reality a complete farce. Only by realizing this would he be consumed by agony and bitter regret. I felt a secret thrill, but outwardly I snapped, Kai Chen, have you lost your mind? When did I ever give you any bell? I shot Yu Lin a dramatic glance. This will give my fiancé the wrong idea. Yu Lin shook his head, playing along beautifully. It won't. He chuckled. Unlike certain individuals, even when consumed by passion for my beloved, I wouldn't fabricate hysterical accusations to slander someone's reputation. Truly despicable behavior. Oh my, he sure knows how to insult people. How is this any different from publicly accusing Kai Chen of fabricating rumors about me? Kai's face grew even paler. In my past life, I did indeed give Kai a bell. At the time, he was in excruciating pain from his injuries, and I gave it to him to distract him from the agony. This lifetime, of course, that never happened. I motioned to the attendant beside me to fetch the bell from the front of the carriage. Right in front of Kai Chen, I tossed it into the air. The bell fell into the icy lake with a small splash. Young Master Chen, next time don't resort to such despicable tactics to slander my reputation. Kai's eyes bulged with fury and disbelief. Without hesitation, he leaped after the bell into the freezing water. Everyone gasped in shock. Yu Lin frowned and instructed his attendant calmly, before young Master Chen drowns, pull him out. That before he drowns part was rather clever, I noted with amusement. Yu Lin turned to me and said, "Miss Lin, let's go." On the way back, Yu Lin's expression was calm, revealing no emotion. Suddenly, he remarked, "Miss Lin, you did this on purpose today." I was startled. Indeed, I had deliberately arranged for Kai to run into us today. Kai had just discovered the truth. He must be heartbroken and filled with regret. I needed to pour more fuel on the fire, compelling him to accompany us to Jiang Nan. Otherwise, if he returned to the capital like in my past life and sided with the third prince in his successful coup, avenging myself would become far more complicated. I wouldn't give my enemy time to grow stronger. But Yu Lin knew nothing of this. All he could see was his fiancée entangled with another man. I waited for Yu Lin to question me about Kai's strange behavior, about my relationship with Kai Chen. I'd already planned how to weave a half-truth, half-lie. The matter of my rebirth I wouldn't tell anyone. Not even Yu Lin. Instead, he tilted his head to look at me, his pale lips pressed together. He merely lifted his sleeve with a hint of displeasure. Miss Lin used me and then discarded me. I sensed the situation shifting and stepped forward to tug his sleeve gently. Our sleeves instantly became intimately intertwined. Yu Lin's lips curved upward again, satisfied. We walked like this for a while before I sighed helplessly. "Young Master Yu, your sleeve is truly going to be torn." "It matters not," he said softly. I brought several sets of clothing. I released his sleeve, but before Yu Lin could frown in disappointment, I took his hand instead. The usually serene young master jumped back as if startled. "This way the sleeve won't get ruined," I said innocently. His voice was barely audible. Yet he didn't pull away, letting me lead him obediently back to the village. Kai Chen did indeed volunteer to accompany us to Jiang Nan. My cousin, seeing Chen Mei's longing gaze whenever she looked at Kai, reluctantly agreed to let him join our party. Chen Mei followed Kai around daily, calling him Brother Kai this and Brother Kai that, her voice dripping with sweetness. Kai ignored her completely, merely playing with the bell hanging at his waist, the one he'd nearly drowned retrieving from the icy lake. Chen Mei instantly recognized it as my bell. Biting her lip, she confronted me before everyone one evening. "Sister, you already have a fiancé. Why are you seducing young Master Chen?" Everyone's expression changed abruptly. I shot Su Jing a look. He immediately ordered, "The second young miss suffered a mental shock recently. Escort her back to rest." Yu Lin seemed to ignore Chen Mei's foolish words entirely as he approached me with a gentle smile. "I hear Miss Lin takes great pleasure in brewing snowmelt tea. I've brought some emerald cloud tea leaves. Would you honor me by sharing a cup?" Chen Mei's face flushed crimson, tears swelling instantly. "You're all bullying me," she sobbed. Seeing she was about to speak again and cause more trouble, I shot her a glare. "Shut her up." I nodded to Yu Lin. "We'll drink tea later. Our family's misfortune has made a spectacle before you, eldest son." "My apologies." Yu Lin obediently turned and left. Su Jing pretended my words were meant for him too, chasing after Yu Lin. "Yu Lin, Yu Lin. Fine tea, fine tea. I want some too." The moment they left, the maidservant immediately pulled out a silk cloth to gag Chen Mei's mouth. Now Chen Mei stopped crying. She stared at me in shock, unable to believe I would treat her this way. I lifted her chin and delivered a full-force slap across her face. "Chen Mei, get this straight. You owe your life of luxury to one person, me. I'm the one who holds you up. That's why you're the precious second Miss Lin. Understand?" When our parents died suddenly, the collateral branches saw us two orphaned girls as helpless prey and tried to expel us from the main family. It was I who protected Chen Mei and the estate our parents left behind. Back then, Chen Mei was still young and foolish enough to be manipulated by distant relatives, demanding I give her half the estate. Pressured from all sides, I gave it to her. Before long, her relatives devoured every last crumb of that inheritance like locusts. She came crying to me. I fought to reclaim it for her, nurturing it back into prosperity. I promised that when she married, I would return her half of the estate. As for the years of effort I poured into managing it, consider that my gift to her as her elder sister. But alas, She's both foolish and venomous, unable to tell right from wrong. After I locked her in the carriage, Chen Mei was forced to behave herself for the entire journey. Kai Chen, however, proved an unshakable shadow. Wherever he went, his bells jingled, his presence impossible to ignore. He tried to strike up conversations with me several times, only to be rebuffed by Yu Lin each time. Who knows how many things Yu Lin brought along for this journey. Today, tasting tea. Tomorrow, admiring jade. The day after, viewing famous calligraphy and paintings. In short, he had countless excuses to lure me away from Kai Chen's vicinity. Kai finally reached his breaking point. One day, he cornered me in a secluded garden path. "You might not believe this," he said desperately. "In our past life, we were husband and wife, deeply devoted until our hair turned white. I know you love almond milk." "I know." "I don't believe you," I cut him off coldly. "Mr. Chen, your methods of spreading rumors are getting more and more absurd." Kai Chen would stop at nothing to deceive me. He actually had the nerve to spout nonsense about loving each other until death. I shot Kai a contemptuous sideways glance. In terms of lineage, Yu Lin is the eldest son of the Yu family, a lineage of generations of upright scholars, and the grandson of Princess Duanyang. In terms of talent, Yu Lin was already renowned throughout Jiang Nan by the age of 15. And you? Merely the obscure second son of the Chen family. What do you have to compare with him? I paused for effect, then delivered the killing blow. Even if there was a past life, would I abandon a jade vase for a piece of broken pottery? Am I blind? Kai's face turned a gradient of ashen hues, a mix of shame, anger, and sorrow. "No, it's not that," he stammered. "You and Yu Lin had incompatible horoscopes. The wedding didn't go smoothly. And later. Oh, so you were just picking up the scraps." I adopted a haughty posture, delivering the final blow. "Young Master Chen, let me be frank. I fell for Yu Lin at first sight. He is the only one I will ever love. Upon returning to Jiang Nan, we shall be married. And you dare covet me?" Kai Chen, after all a nobleman's son, couldn't bear the humiliation. He left utterly dejected. The green-robed figure lurking around the corner watching us, Chen Mei also slipped away quietly. I remarked indifferently toward the empty corner, "You can stop eavesdropping and leave now." Only then did Yu Lin emerge from behind a flowering tree, looking quite embarrassed. He kept his head bowed. "I didn't mean to eavesdrop. I only saw him cornering you and feared you might be bullied." I gave no clear response, turning to walk away. Yu Lin followed in small steps like a puppy. "Don't listen to Kai Chen's nonsense," he said earnestly. "I've had many astrologers examine our compatibility. They all say our union is heaven-ordained." "You still believe in fate?" I asked, amused. Yu Lin's response was immediate. "I believe selectively. Anyway, don't trust anyone who says our birth charts clash. They're all charlatans." I smiled despite myself. Yu Lin's face flushed deeper, his ears burning red. "Also, Miss Lin, I've liked you for a long time." He started tugging at his sleeve nervously again. "Ever since we first met, I've admired you." As soon as we arrived in Jiangnan, my maternal grandmother stood at the door with her cane to greet us personally. Seeing Chen Mei, she exclaimed with heartfelt affection, pulling her into an embrace before taking her inside to examine her properly, as if checking for injuries. Yu Lin and Su Jing both frowned at this display. Su Jing whispered an explanation to me. "Sister Yu, second sister Mai, always used to send letters to grandmother. It's only natural she'd be a bit partial." I raised an eyebrow. Chen Mei was hardly the type to sit still and write letters. The one who sent monthly letters to grandmother was clearly me. She really did love to steal my achievements. I chuckled. "Is that so? Then it seems my monthly letters didn't meet grandmother's expectations. Though I've never seen Chen Mei write a single letter. Everyone present was sharp enough to understand my meaning. Yu Lin, unusually lacking in grace, snorted lightly. "Cunning little thief." Su Jing indicated he understood. He hinted to me, "A welcome banquet has been arranged within the mansion. If you have any requests, feel free to voice them." Throughout our journey, Su Jing had firmly aligned himself with my cause. My bargaining chips far outweighed Chen Mei's. Not to mention, since the Yue family resided in Jiang Nan, I would be marrying out of the Su household. Su Jing knew who the optimal choice truly was for the family's future. Yu Lin tactfully took his leave. He casually took Kai Chen with him, claiming his grandfather wished to see him. Yu Lin's grandfather, Yu Qingshan, was not only a literary giant but also the late emperor's tutor, credited with helping him ascend the throne. Though he'd retired with his wife years ago, his reputation remained formidable. When he requested a meeting, Kai Chen had no room to refuse. I shot Yu Lin a teasing glance. Yu Lin leaned close and whispered a warning. Don't see him while I'm gone. He's really annoying, going on about how you injured him and owe him an apology. His voice dropped even lower. Harassing a respectable young maiden like this, I'll report him to the authorities and have him arrested. I chuckled softly. I whispered back, then we'll make him contribute to our wedding banquet as compensation. The eldest son, whose forehead veins had bulged with anger moments ago, was instantly placated by this suggestion. Su Jing moved swiftly. At the welcome banquet arranged by the Su family, each guest was served a cup of almond tea, a Jiang Nan specialty. Chen Mei sat triumphantly beside our maternal grandmother. Just as she lifted her teacup to her lips, she wrinkled her nose in faint delicacy. Grandmother, I don't drink almond tea, she said sweetly. When mother was still with us, almonds weren't allowed in the mansion, not even if my elder sister loved them. She shot me a triumphant glance, oblivious to the fading smile on grandmother's face. As I'd expected, Chen Mei had merely instructed the system to replace my signature on the letters with hers, just as she'd replaced the memory in Kai Chen's mind, substituting herself for me. Chen Mei continued her complaint. It's a pity that after my elder sister took charge of the household, she stopped considering my preferences. She always insists on using almond fragrance in everything. She paused dramatically. Indeed, I always scented my letters with almond fragrance. Grandmother's smile vanished completely. She was old, not senile. Watching the subtle exchanges between Su Jing and me, how could she not grasp the true situation? Chen Mei continued her performance with remarkable consistency. I heard it was cousin Jing who arranged the banquet. His favored elder sister all along and now dares to bully me in front of grandmother. How unfair. Su Jing was the future helmsman of the Su household, a man of both virtue and talent. Whether genuine or not, who among the family would dare refuse him face? Su Jing smiled apologetically and ordered someone to replace her tea. My apologies, second miss. I wasn't aware of your preference. The elders remained seated, but those younger family members who would rely on Su Jing in the future immediately rose to rebuke Chen Mei. Miss Chen has quite the temper. A single cup of tea, it's easily replaced. Why must you accuse our young master? We honored our distant guest with proper hospitality, yet some take advantage of kindness. What exemplary upbringing indeed. I rose to apologize on my sister's behalf, playing the role of the dutiful elder sister. Before I could bow, Su Jing swiftly helped me up. Sister Yu, it was my failure to serve properly that displeased the second miss. Do not blame yourself. One called me Sister Yu with warmth. The other second miss with coldness. The difference in closeness was abundantly clear. Those present understood immediately and began to console me, while shooting Chen Mei disapproving looks. Chen Mei could no longer hold back. Her tear-filled eyes turned to our maternal grandmother for support. Grandmother lifted the almond tea, took a deliberate sip, and remarked indifferently, I too love almond tea. I suppose Yue takes after me in this regard. Chen Mei stamped her foot in frustration. Just as she had done every time she'd been upset with me before, she left the banquet without a word, sparing no one's feelings. But this time, there was no one to smooth things over for her or make excuses for her behavior. After the welcome banquet ended, grandmother held my hand and advised gently, since Maya has such a temperament, I fear neither the Yu nor Su family's young men will do for her marriage prospects. I nodded in agreement. Maya has found her own suitor, the second son of the Duke of Chen. Before grandmother could ask about the political implications, I interjected smoothly, even if we incur enmity with the Chen family, we can handle it. Grandmother asked no more. As the matriarch, she knew what to meddle in and what to let be. She merely sighed at my mother's early passing, wishing she were here to guide us. After this incident, Chen Mei harbored deep hatred toward me. She refused to maintain any semblance of peace between us. When Princess Duanyang herself personally visited the Su family to propose marriage for Yu Lin, Chen Mei's jealousy and resentment were written all over her face. Princess Duanyang practically brought half of the Yu family with her to show respect. She looked at me, her eyes brimming with delight. "Ah, so this is the girl our little Lina adores. She's truly beautiful, a perfect match for my grandson." She slipped the jade bracelet from her own wrist and placed it directly onto mine, a gesture of acceptance and blessing. In my past life, she had done the same. She claimed that honoring me was honoring Yu Lin, showering me with praise and making no secret of her favoritism. But this time, Princess Duanyang added something else. She said Yu Lin had brought a young man from the Chen family to meet his grandfather, and it was causing the old man great distress with political concerns. Yet Yu Lin stubbornly insisted his grandfather had specifically requested to meet the young man, clearly a flimsy excuse to keep Kai Chen occupied and away from me. Princess Duanyang was advanced in years, her hair silvered with age. Yet when she spoke of her beloved husband, her eyes still softened with the tender affection of a young girl in love. She chuckled warmly. "Our little Lina needs his elders to help defeat his rivals in love." How adorable and pathetic at the same time. Though she spoke lightly, Yu Lin was the child she had raised from infancy after his parents passed young. The deep affection hidden beneath her words nearly overflowed. Yu Lin had a wonderful family. They treated me well, hoping I would treat Yu Lin kindly in the future and give him the happiness he deserved. So this time, no matter what, I would not let Yu Lin suffer the same fate as in his past life because of this marriage. After Princess Duanyang left, Chen Mei completely lost her composure. She desperately called out to the system in her mind, "System, I need to redeem a special opportunity. I want to become Lin Yue. As for the cost, just deduct whatever you want from her." I held my breath for a moment, listening intently. I heard the system tell Chen Mei she didn't have enough points to redeem a character swap card. I exhaled in relief. Just as I thought. I'd pondered for a long time what price Chen Mei had actually paid by taking things from me. From her conversation with the system, she'd always believed she'd taken my fortune, my luck, my destiny. But as I meticulously reviewed everything that happened in my past and present lives, I realized the truth. At various banquets, I meticulously prepared dances, only to be prevented from performing them each time by sudden accidents. Then Chen Mei would suddenly appear, dazzling the crowd with the very dance I'd choreographed. During year-end charity events, I toiled for days personally distributing food to the poor. Yet rumors spread among the people that it was second Miss Lin who was the true benefactor, while I merely assisted. Then there was Kai Chen, snatched from my memory and given to her. The family letters with altered signatures. The credit for household management stolen. None of these were fortune or destiny. They were the fruits of my labor, my hard work, my skill, my effort. The system manipulated Chen Mei into believing she needed to sacrifice nothing. Simply by draining my fortune and bestowing it upon her, she could gain everything effortlessly. But the truth was, Chen Mei remained unaware of what she was actually paying. She was receiving the fruits of my labor from the system, yes. But what was she giving in return? Take this time for instance. Because I didn't save Kai Chen, the system couldn't directly make Chen Mei his savior. It could only create new conditions, manipulate the hunter to find him, create opportunities for them to meet. There's no such thing as a free lunch in this world. Chen Mei herself hadn't noticed, but ever since she'd redeemed that so-called opportunity, the color in her face had grown paler and paler. Her entire body had become noticeably thinner, almost gaunt. What she was paying with was her lifespan, and the time she had left was already running out. The system's voice grew seductive. "But you still have one chance left to snatch Yu Lin from your sister. Do you want it?" "Yes." Chen Mei didn't hesitate. "Even if it costs me everything, even if it costs you your life," the system pressed. Chen Mei's response was immediate. Yes. It had always been like this with her. She didn't care about what she truly wanted. She only cared about how to snatch things from my hands, stealing others' hard-earned achievements effortlessly, watching their desolation and sorrow while savoring her triumph alone. The allure of unearned gain proved too potent, ultimately eroding her reason and principles until nothing remained but greed. I stationed guards to watch Chen Mei closely until the eve of my wedding to Yu Lin, when she finally made her move. This timing matched the exact moment Chen Mei met her demise in my previous life. To ensure absolute safety, I arranged for Yu Lin to meet me outside, away from the wedding preparations. According to custom, betrothed couples must not see each other before the wedding ceremony. Yu Lin hesitated, unable to refuse my request, yet arrived with visible trepidation, fearing to break the taboo. It seemed Kai Chen's words about incompatible horoscopes had swayed him somewhat. His evasiveness made my head spin with amusement. "Fine," I said with exasperation. "Then stand with your back to me and don't turn around." He actually obeyed, turning his back and refusing to look at me, standing there like a statue. It made me laugh despite the seriousness of the situation. Before long, an attendant delivered a small note, said to be from Miss Lin for Yu Lin. Opening it, I recognized my own handwriting, or rather, a perfect forgery. The letter invited Yu Lin to meet at our bridal chamber that very night, strictly forbidding him from bringing any attendants. I ordered calmly, "Take this letter to Kai Chen instead. Tell him it's an urgent message from Miss Lin." Keeping Kai Chen around until now was precisely for this moment. I'd promised Chen Mei I wouldn't take her Kai Chen, so naturally, I'd grant her wish in my own way. As the time mentioned in the forged letter drew near, dusk had already settled over Jiang Nan, painting the sky in shades of amber and purple. I prepared to go out and witness the final act of this long-awaited drama. Yu Lin, my little shadow, insisted on following. I frowned with concern. "Go home tonight. You can't be involved in this." He couldn't afford the slightest mishap that might tarnish his reputation. Yu Lin stubbornly refused, pouting like a child. "You're meeting Kai Chen at night and expect me to step aside? Absolutely not." I sighed. "Fine. But stay close to me and do exactly as I say." Yu Lin swiftly took my hand, squeezing it gently. "I promise." Worried I wouldn't adjust well to living with the Yu family elders after marriage, Yu Lin had prepared our bridal chamber not in the main Yu residence, but in an adjacent mansion he'd purchased, a place that would be ours alone. Probably due to the system's manipulation, not a single servant was in sight throughout the main courtyard when we arrived. Yu Lin and I hid outside the window of the bridal chamber, peering inside. Chen Mei sat before the mirror wearing an elaborate bridal gown, my bridal gown, clearly stolen. She meticulously applied eyebrow makeup, perfecting her appearance. Moments later, footsteps approached. Kai Chen entered the chamber. Chen Mei sat with her back to him, her face reflected in the mirror. Kai Chen didn't recognize she wasn't me in the dim candlelight. His expression lit up with desperate delight. "Lin Yue," he breathed, "you still can't let go of me." "I knew it. I knew you loved me." Chen Mei heard the unfamiliar voice and scrambled to her feet in shock. But Kai Chen had already swept her into his arms, planting a trail of urgent kisses along her neck and shoulders. I caught sight of an incense burner smoldering in the far corner of the room, producing sweet-smelling smoke. Before I could warn anyone, Yu Lin pressed his fingers gently over my nose and mouth, his expression cold and alert. He whispered against my ear, "It's an aphrodisiac incense. Quite potent. I was trained to resist such things from childhood. I'll be fine, but you mustn't breathe it." Inside the chamber, Kai Chen's eyes had already grown hazy with lust, his movements becoming more aggressive. "Lin Yue," he murmured desperately, "this lifetime, I'll treat you well. We'll have many children together. We'll." The incense in the room had been lit by Chen Mei herself as part of her scheme to trap Yu Lin. She'd inhaled the most concentrated amount. Her resistance was gradually weakening, her body responding against her will. Half desire, half despair spread across her face. "Kai Chen," she gasped out, "why is it you? Why, even when it's you, do you still call out Lin Yue's name?" Summoning her last ounce of strength and clarity, she thrust the golden hairpin from her temple toward Kai Chen's throat. But before she could strike, she collapsed in sudden agony, her body convulsing. I heard the system's cold, indifferent notification echo in my mind. I could still hear it, even now. "Host's lifespan depleted. System unbinding in progress." Chen Mei froze, her eyes wide with shock and terror. What do you mean, lifespan depleted? Shouldn't it be my sister's fortune you're taking? Not mine. The system replied dismissively, considerate her unwillingness to pay. The cost must come from somewhere. No matter how Chen Mei called out, pleaded, or screamed, the system offered no further response. Kai Chen, completely lost to the incense's effects, continued kissing Chen Mei's neck and shoulders like a mindless beast, utterly oblivious to the death convulsions gripping the body beneath him. Chen Mei's despair reached its peak. In her dying state, she clung desperately to that word, unwillingness. Her eyes blazed with hatred as she turned toward the window where she somehow sensed my presence. She screamed hoarsely, her voice breaking, "Sister, you ruined me. This is all your fault." I stepped out of the shadows, meeting her gaze directly through the window. Ignoring her accusation, I first kicked Kai Chen unconscious before he could proceed any further, preventing him from truly violating Chen Mei. Revenge was revenge, but as a woman myself, I wouldn't stoop so low as to let her be humiliated in that way, even in death. Some lines shouldn't be crossed. Chen Mei's expression of resentment froze in confusion at my intervention. I said calmly, entering the room, "I never actively harmed you, Maya. Every step that led to today was your own doing. You made these choices." Whether she believed it or not didn't matter anymore. I knelt down and gathered her clothes, covering her properly and preserving her dignity. Chen Mei's consciousness was already fading rapidly. She could no longer recognize people or hear words clearly. Her gaze drifted blankly into the void, unfocused. With her very last ounce of strength, she reached out toward me, her words coming in broken gasps. "Sister, save me, please." She had betrayed me so many times. Stolen from me, schemed against me, hated me. Yet in her final moments, her instinct still knew only one person to turn to: her sister. Only her sister had always protected her, no matter what. Yet she'd never cherished it. Never valued it. Never even recognized it for what it was. My heart remained utterly still, unmoved by her final plea. Only after her last breath escaped, after her hand fell limp, did I gently close her eyelids with my fingers. I whispered softly, knowing she could no longer hear, "I'll pin all the blame on Kai Chen. You'll depart this world with your reputation intact, as a virtuous lady. No one will know what happened here." This was my final act of protection for her, the last duty of an elder sister. Even though Chen Mei could no longer see or hear, I didn't turn to look at Yu Lin, who had witnessed the entire scene from beside me. He was a clever man. He must have seen through my foreknowledge of Chen Mei's schemes tonight. He'd probably pieced together that I knew far more than I should. He probably wasn't even surprised by witnessing his future bride's sister die before his eyes. But I didn't want to hide who I truly was, not from him. This was who I was. I could never be a perfectly virtuous, endlessly forgiving woman. Whoever wronged me, I would exact my revenge, one way or another. "Young Master Yu," I said coldly, still not looking at him, "it's not too late to call off the engagement now. You could say it's because of my misconduct, my unwomanly behavior. I would understand." Before I could finish, Yu Lin cut me off, his usual composure shattering in his urgency. "This is the bridal chamber I've prepared for years." His voice actually rose. "Having someone die here is already devastating enough. What did I do wrong to lose even my bride on top of that?" He scooped up the small incense burner with one hand, handling it carefully, and grabbed my wrist with the other. "Let's go. Quickly, before anyone comes." We plunged into the night together, leaving the death scene behind. Moments later, the group Chen Mei had arranged to catch Yu Lin and me in a compromising position pushed open the bridal chamber door. They would find Kai Chen, unconscious and disheveled, lying beside Chen Mei's corpse. The scandal would be enormous, but it would be Kai Chen's scandal, not mine. Yu Lin pulled me through the dark streets, evading everyone's notice with practiced ease, and escorted me safely back to the Su residence. He spoke first, his tone careful. "You'll have much to handle shortly with your sister's death. I'll take my leave and let you manage the situation." His tone was as cold and formal as when I'd suggested annulling our marriage earlier. I sighed, my heart aching. "I'm sorry for ruining your bridal chamber." Before he could grow angry, I added quickly, "So tomorrow, I won't let anyone ruin our wedding. I promise." Yu Lin's tense expression eased immediately. He pulled a small cloth bundle from his sleeve, his expression shifting to one of resignation. Didn't you want Chen Mei to depart with her dignity intact? He unwrapped the bundle to reveal the incense burner. I'll take this to dispose of it properly. No evidence will remain. He reached out with his other hand, swiftly and gently smoothing my hair that had become disheveled from running. His tone grew gentler than the evening breeze. Had you not intervened tonight, and I'd been unprepared and gone to that chamber as the letter requested, I might not have fallen under the incense's spell, but I wouldn't have been able to react quickly enough to your sister's death either. The scandal would have ruined both our families. He paused, his eyes sincere. I know it wasn't you who struck her down, Lin Yue. I know you didn't kill your sister. Thank you for protecting me from that trap. The gentle young master smiled softly, warmly. Focus on handling matters with your family. Leave the rest to me. I'll manage everything. He drew a golden bracelet from his robe and slipped it onto my wrist with careful, reverent movements. It conceals poison needles for self-defense, just like the one you already have. Use it cautiously, and only if you must. I stared at him, overwhelmed. When did he have time to prepare this? When this is all over, I said quietly, I'll tell you the whole truth. Everything. Yu Lin nodded without hesitation. All right. There's no rush. I'll wait as long as it takes. Only the Su family members arrived at the scene initially. Su Jing had swiftly brought the situation under control. He had me secretly brought to the chamber without alerting our maternal grandmother, sparing her the shock. Su Jing's expression was complex as he surveyed the scene, Kai Chen unconscious, Chen Mei dead, the lingering scent of incense. I received a message, he said carefully, claiming that Kai Chen had acted improperly towards second Miss Lin in the bridal chamber. I rushed over urgently, fearing the worst. He looked at me. Fortunately, it wasn't Yu Lin involved. But Chen Mei is dead. This matter demands an explanation to both families. I stated my conclusion firmly. Kai Chen attempted to force himself upon my sister. When she resisted, he killed her. It's that simple. Su Jing nodded slowly, tacitly agreeing with my assessment. Then shall we report this to the authorities now and have him arrested? I replied calmly, no. Tomorrow is my wedding day. Let's not disrupt it with this ugliness. Instead, write a letter to the eldest son of the Chen family in the capital, explaining the situation. Let them deal with their disgraceful second son. I paused. Yu Lin is already aware of everything. He said he entrusts the matter entirely to me, and I may speak on behalf of the Yu family in this. Su Jing exhaled in relief, clearly glad the Yu family wouldn't cause complications. Seeing the cold look of hatred in my eyes as I stared at Kai Chen's unconscious form, Su Jing assumed I intended to avenge my sister properly. Thoughtfully, he posted a servant to guard outside and departed to write the necessary letters. Kai Chen lay bound on the floor where Su Jing's men had tied him, his face pressed against the cold wood in utter disarray. Now it was his turn to defend himself against an accusation he couldn't disprove that he hadn't killed Chen Mei. Just as I'd once been unable to prove I hadn't killed Chen Mei in my previous life. He looked at me pleadingly as consciousness returned. I didn't do it. I didn't kill her. You have to believe me, Lin Yue. Please. I smiled coldly. The expression must have looked terrifying. Is that so? I murmured softly, crouching beside him. Then tell me, Kai Chen, why didn't you believe me when I said I didn't harm Chen Mei in our past life? Kai Chen's eyes widened in shock and realization. You remember too? You were reborn as well? I slapped him hard across the face, the sound echoing in the chamber. Again and again, I struck him until his teeth shattered and blood filled his mouth. In my past life, if I hadn't been so weak after childbirth, you wouldn't have died so easily at my hand, I hissed. Heaven truly has eyes, granting us both rebirth so I could make you suffer properly. I yanked his hair viciously, forcing him upright into a kneeling position. Someone bring second Miss Lin's body over here, I commanded. Servants outside carefully carried Chen Mei's corpse inside, laying her on the floor. Under Kai Chen's horrified gaze, I took my seat in the main chair, the position of authority. Chen Mei wished to be your wife in life, I announced. I cherished my younger sister dearly and cannot bear for her to depart this world with regrets unfulfilled. I smiled, cold and merciless. Didn't you always regret not marrying her? You claimed to love her so much in our past life. Tonight, I decree your union. You will marry my sister's corpse. Fortunately, Chen Mei still wore the bridal gown she'd stolen from my chamber. At my direction, servants tore red silk ribbons from the window lattices to bind Kai Chen's hands in a mockery of wedding bonds. The bride and groom were positioned facing each other. I commanded, "First bow to heaven and earth." Attendants pressed Kai Chen's head down forcibly while propping up Chen Mei's corpse. Both bowed toward the doorway. Second bow to the parents. With both sets of parents deceased, I stood in as the eldest sister and family head. I accepted the bow without hesitation, playing the role with grim satisfaction. Husband and wife bow to each other. Kai Chen struggled desperately, but 2 fists couldn't overcome 4 hands. His head was humiliatingly forced down until his forehead pressed against Chen Mei's cold one. Unable to control himself at the touch of her death-chilled skin, he turned his head and vomited violently. I laughed, the sound harsh and mocking. "Brother-in-law, you should be happy. This is your wedding day. Why aren't you pleased?" The more timid servants among them trembled in fear at this macabre ceremony, while the bolder ones had gone pale but remained obedient. When I scattered gold coins from my sleeve, they cheerfully gathered around Kai Chen despite their fear, loudly offering congratulations as I'd instructed. "Congratulations, young Master Chen. A joyous union. May you have a harmonious marriage." I ordered, "Escort young Master Chen to the bridal chamber. My sister has passed into the next world. As her husband, it is his sacred duty to keep vigil before her body for the traditional 7 days and nights." Kai Chen was absolutely terrified. He frantically reached out, trying to grab the hem of my robe for mercy. I stepped on his outstretched hand deliberately, this very hand that had killed my most beloved daughter in another life. I crushed it beneath my foot, smiling as he screamed. "I am about to marry the man I love," I said pleasantly. "I told you before, didn't I? Yu Lin is worth 1,000 of you. You never stood a chance." The next day dawned clear and bright, as if heaven itself approved. Spring had fully arrived in Jiang Nan, and several branches of peach blossoms were blooming in glorious pink clouds throughout the city. Yu Lin, dressed in brilliant red wedding robes that made him look like a deity, took my hand and led me into the Yu family home. Overnight, he had transformed his childhood courtyard into a new bridal chamber, away from the tainted one. The bridal preparations, the ceremonial procession, the traditional rituals, the sharing of wine cups, every single detail was arranged to honor me and show me respect. Yet his palms still grew damp with nervous sweat, fearful of slighting me in any way or making any mistake. Even simple things like lowering the curtains and lighting the wedding candles, he asked my permission for step by step, as if I were made of precious glass. As a maiden, how could I bear to refuse him anything when he was trying so hard? The next morning, as I woke lazily in his arms, Yu Lin held me close and slowly, carefully combed my hair, cleansed my face with warm water, and drew my eyebrows with delicate strokes. His technique was exquisite, each movement practiced and sure. He said softly, "I watched my grandfather do this for my grandmother, and my father for my mother since childhood, before they passed. I've practiced countless times in my mind, imagining the day I could do this for you." He smiled. "Now at last, I can trace these lines upon the face of my beloved wife." The sunlight, clear and gentle as water, fell upon my husband's face, illuminating his expression of pure contentment. My heart, too, grew soft with overwhelming tenderness. After everything was done, I finally understood why Yu Lin had never defended himself in my past life when accused of involvement in Chen Mei's death. What could he possibly have said? Should he have revealed that Chen Mei had tried to trap him in a scandalous situation? That she'd invited him to a secret meeting? That she'd cried out before dying, accusing her own sister? Any of those explanations would have destroyed my reputation instead of his. Between him and me, only one could remain innocent in society's eyes. He chose me. He sacrificed himself to protect me. After our marriage was called off in that previous life, as I boarded the ship to leave Jiang Nan for the capital, Yu Lin came to the docks to bid me farewell. In just those few days after the scandal, he had grown noticeably thinner, his face heavy with sorrow and exhaustion. Yet he forced a smile, handing me a golden bracelet as a parting gift, one of the wedding gifts he'd prepared. I promised I would soon uncover the truth and clear my name, he'd said desperately. Please trust me, Lin Yue. Wait for me. As for marriage, he said nothing more. We both knew a death lay between us, and the vows of mutual respect we'd once made could never be fulfilled under such a cloud. We could only look at each other in silence across that growing distance, burying our heavy hearts beneath the vast, misty waves. Unaware of the truth about the system, ignorant of the supernatural forces at play, I boarded the departing boat without a single backward glance. Perhaps it was because I still clung to hope somewhere deep inside, expecting him to return with proof and vindication, expecting to see him again. But neither of us, ignorant of the extraordinary existence of the system, could have imagined that such proof would never be found. The truth would never be uncovered through normal means. The stain on his reputation was impossible to wash away with ordinary evidence. The bond of marriage could not be renewed. That had been our final meeting in that lifetime. He'd had no reason to continue living with such shame. I'd had no reason to look back toward a man suspected of murdering my sister. After that, I waited 3 long years in the capital until my heart grew cold and numb. Just then, Kai Chen passionately sought to marry me, pursuing me with single-minded determination. He cared not for the rumors swirling about me, the whispers that my sister had died under suspicious circumstances, that my first engagement had ended in scandal. He claimed to believe in me steadfastly, to love me despite everything. I was too weary of being alone, too tired of fighting. I wanted to step into a new life, to have a new family and leave the pain behind. I agreed to marry him. By the time news of Yu Lin's death reached me, he'd taken his own life in the ancestral temple. I was already Lady Chen, and he had become merely an unmentionable figure from my past. Only the golden bracelet I still wore in secret reminded me that once, by a riverbank in Jiang Nan, a young man had gazed at me with such heartbreaking sorrow. The love and anguish in his eyes had filled my departing boat like water, drowning us both. But this life would be different. Princess Duanyang suggested a honeymoon journey after the wedding, but Yu Lin politely insisted on obeying his grandmother's wishes to remain home for the traditional period. My long-suffering grandfather-in-law had sneered that tradition allowed only 7 days of marriage leave, but Yu Lin had pretended not to hear, keeping me sequestered in our private mansion for much, much longer. He clung to me as if afraid I might disappear, making up for all the time we'd lost in that other life. The marriage bed is the tomb of ambition, the saying goes, and Yu Lin seemed determined to prove it true. By the time I thought of Kai Chen again, 3 full months had passed. Close call, I'd nearly let him die of neglect in that chamber. I had Kai Chen transferred to a proper dungeon beneath the Su family estate, where he was tortured day and night by professional interrogators. He had hated me, resented me, cursed me with every vile word imaginable. When I informed him that the Chen family in the capital had officially severed ties with him and abandoned him to his fate, his expression turned ashen with despair. Yet still, he clung to life stubbornly. I asked him during one visit, "What are you waiting for? The system to save you?" Kai Chen snapped his head up, hope flaring in his eyes. I smiled and delivered the truth. In my past life, Yu Lin was so skilled and careful that he deceived everyone. No one suspected Chen Mei's death was connected to me in any way. But you, Kai Chen, you were somehow convinced I'd killed Chen Mei. Who told you that? Who gave you that information? I leaned closer. And who helped you rise from an obscure second son stationed in a remote border town to a second-rank minister in the capital in just a few years? Your legitimate elder brother was also a man of considerable ability and political skill. Yet after you returned to the capital, everything went wrong for him, every venture failed, every alliance crumbled until he conveniently lost his life in an accident. How fortunate for you. I let the implications sink in. You trusted a system full of lies and manipulation, Kai Chen. You and Chen Mei, you're both equally foolish, equally blind. Bloodshot veins bulged in Kai Chen's eyes as the realization and madness consumed him in equal measure. But it truly is no ordinary thing, he shouted desperately. It gave me everything. Since you know of it, you must release me now. Otherwise, when I'm free, When the system helps me again. When what? I interrupted calmly. I delivered the final blow. As fate would have it, the day after my wedding ceremony to Yu Lin, a thing calling itself the Lucky Lotus System approached me, claiming it could fulfill my deepest desires and grant me any wish. Kai Chen's lips trembled as he fixed me with a deathly stare, unable to comprehend. I continued, "It's bound to me now, Kai Chen. But too bad for it, I don't use it. I refuse every offer, every temptation. It can't draw any energy from me, can't fulfill any wishes. It just rages impotently in my mind day and night, screaming and begging." I smiled pleasantly. "Slowly weakening. Slowly dying. Just like you." The last glimmer of hope in Kai Chen's eyes extinguished completely, leaving only hollow despair. I turned to leave, then paused. "Oh, but you're far more useful than the system, Kai Chen. Though we were both reborn, I'm a woman and was kept sheltered from court affairs and political intrigue. But you lived years in the capital, navigating imperial politics. You know so much valuable information." I looked back at him. "How could I let you die before squeezing every last drop of useful intelligence from you? You're going to help my husband rise to power, whether you want to or not." Shortly after our marriage, Yu Lin's family, who were now my family as well, revealed everything he had done in preparation for our union. For instance, the betrothal between Yu Lin and me was something he had sought out himself, personally approaching our families with the proposal. Unbeknownst to me all these years, a young man had once seen me at a literary gathering when I was barely 15. From that single meeting, he thought of me day and night, unable to forget me. Another example, every year, Yu Lin would personally craft exquisite gifts, jewelry, painted fans, books of poetry, then secretly slip them into the Su family's annual tribute packages sent to our Lin family in the capital. The gifts always arrived labeled as being from the Su family, never signed with his name. He never cared that it was supposedly my younger sister Chen Mei who was rising to fame in the capital as the lucky, blessed daughter. He never wavered in his affection. He saw only Lin Yue, only me, just as he had that very first time we met. When Princess Duanyang told me all this, I wept. I gave Yu Lin all the intelligence I'd carefully extracted from Kai Chen about political factions, corruption networks, and future events I remembered. I also told him the complete truth about the system, intending to finally explain the full circumstances of Chen Mei's death and my rebirth. Yu Lin lost his temper with me for the first time when I described letting the system bind to me. "Such an evil entity," he shouted, actually shouting at me. "You should never have risked accepting it. What if it had harmed you? What if something had gone wrong?" As he spoke, he frightened himself into tears, pulling me into a crushing embrace. "Lin Yue," he whispered brokenly, "I truly care for you. I couldn't bear it if anything happened to you." I held him close and replied softly, "I know. I know you do." I stroked his hair gently. "That's why I'm telling you all this. So these pieces of information I'm giving you, I'm not giving them to repay some debt. This isn't a transaction." I pulled back to meet his eyes. "You gave me a peach, I repay you with jade. Not for revenge, not from obligation, but because I want to cherish you forever." After learning what had happened between Kai Chen and me in my past life, how he'd murdered our infant daughter, how he'd blamed me for Chen Mei's death, Yu Lin stormed into the dungeon in a rage. He slashed Kai Chen 99 times with a blade, each cut precise and deliberate, ensuring maximum pain without granting death. When he returned, covered in blood, he held me close with trembling hands. His eyes were red with tears. "It's all right," he whispered. "That precious girl, she'll know you were the best mother in the world. She'll choose you again. I'm certain of it." He was even caught by me one day, secretly consulting folk remedies and visiting temples to pray for us to conceive a daughter specifically. I don't know which remedy or prayer worked, but I truly did give birth to a daughter. She was gentle and beautiful, opening her eyes to smile at me the very moment she was born, exactly like before. The entire Yu family was overjoyed beyond measure. She was the first female infant born to the Yu family in 4 generations. She would be showered with everyone's affection and protection. She was a one-of-a-kind treasure. Yu Lin pulled me close as we gazed at our daughter together, and he said softly, "See, Lin Yue? I told you she'd come back to us." He smiled through tears of joy. This time, both father and mother adore her completely. She'll have the happiest life possible. At that moment, my own tears flowed like a spring. Yes, I whispered, holding both my husband and daughter close. And I love you too, Lin. I love you both so very much. Thank you for journeying with me through this tale of rebirth, revenge, and second chances at love. If you enjoyed this story, please subscribe to Lotus Tale Studios for more compelling narrative. Hit that like button, leave a comment telling me what you thought, and don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss our next upload. Your support means everything and helps us bring you more amazing stories. Until next time, this has been Lotus Tale Studios. May your own second chances lead to happiness.